Hey coaches, before we get started, check this out. Whether you're at the top or grassroots trying to juggle work, life, and soccer, here's a little help from Soccer Coach Weekly with ready-to-go drills that have been trusted since 2006. Here's the deal though. Soccer Dad Pod listeners, you will get 50% off a full year of premium access. So go to the Soccer Coach Weekly link in the show notes and use code SDP50. That's SDP50 for 50% off your premium subscription. Plan, fast, coach, smart. Now, let's go. All right. Soccer Dad Pod. Coming in with a little groovy vibe. Gregory Alan Isikoff. There's not going to be a quiz after these shows, so you don't need to know that.
I'm glad you didn't ask me who is it, because I didn't know.
No, the only reason I'm bringing it up, I'm playing it because I was doing a little seeking of things to do, and I like this guy. He's on my playlist. He's got a cool little chill vibe.
Seems like a Jason Isabel vibe.
Kind of,
yeah,
a little bit. Singer-songwriter guy. Pageant on August 27th. Go get your tickets. Get out. Do something. Quit watching the news. Go do something real.
You know, you say the pageant, and immediately I was hoping you'd say the factory, because I have, and I'm ashamed to admit this,
because it's
I have
like 38 minutes closer to your house.
I have yet to go to the factory, and I want to go to the factory so bad, but I want to go there for somebody that I really know.
Well, we can look it up. Check it out. Factory.
Billy Kernson was there, and I missed it.
Yeah, I've seen two shows there. I saw Charlie Crockett.
I bet you that.
And Midland.
Okay.
Yeah, these good shows. Anyway, Soccer Dad Powder, we're back. Throwing out a little thing to do in St. Louis. You're welcome, Explore STL. We'll ask for money later. We got another episode today. And as I stated many a time before, because we've had not a large percentage, but a decent percentage of guests that do have foreign accents, specifically European accents, numbers go up. Because it just sounds so much more like, that guy knows what he's talking about.
Well, and I've told you many times, I mean, and you know, he's from here, so pardon me, Taylor, but I would much rather watch a football soccer game with an English/United Kingdom accent announcing that game than any of the American guys we got. I'm sorry. Sorry about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, if it's Major League Baseball, I don't want to hear Ian Dark or somebody. You know what I'm saying? It just has, or NFL. I don't need to hear Univision's coverage.
No,
I get it. It's fair. That's a fair statement, right?
Yeah.
We've been rolling through some episodes here lately, having a lot of fun, kind of spraying the infield. Last episode, if you missed it, featured St. Louis's own Patrick Barry. Kind of spent his whole life on the business side of the game. It was really fun. It was a different kind of conversation on a really cool level, because you haven't heard it yet at the time of this recording because we haven't released it yet. But you weren't on that one.
Yeah, that killed me because I really like Pat.
Suffice to say, if you are running a club, or frankly, if you're even just running a team, and you're trying to put things together, whether it's keeping the finances clean, figuring out how to keep the money good till May, because a lot of these clubs, the problem is, you pay all your dues and your fees in August. And then 10 months later, you're like, oh, shit. The well is getting a little dry.
Yeah, we got to go to regionals.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 3 times.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a really cool conversation about kind of the X's and O's, nuts and bolts of running clubs. And, his experience, not only St. Louis Scott Gallagher, but working with Jim Cavanaugh and Tom Strunk when they rolled out STLFC. He was a major player in that operation, working alongside Jeremy Allenball. They talk about what they did, and now transitioning out and helping clubs through his current business, to basically clean up the business. Because we always joke, what's the problem with the majority of soccer clubs in America? Who are they ran by?
Parents.
Soccer guys.
You said it, not me.
There's not a lot of business guys that are running these things, but there's a correlation between the success of those that do and those that don't.
And the irony of that is, yes, these soccer guys that are running these clubs, they'll be the first to tell you that they don't want anything to do with the business side, the scheduling, all of the housekeeping stuff. And I can't wait to listen, because I'm sure Pat had a lot to say about that type of stuff, and he was probably very informative.
Yeah, it was awesome. Let's move into some points of the day. I mean, there's a lot of news, sporting news in particular, bouncing around. What do you have today?
Yeah, my point one of the day is we're recording on Tuesday, August 5th. This will be released sometime mid-August. Who knows when, but JB's the only one that knows. And we'll get it out there to the fine folks listening. I'm buzzing. Like, you kind of walk around Amsterdam like it's your place, and I like Soccer Park and all that. But do you know what Monday, August 4th means for our game? And we touch on everything. We touch on club, high school, college, and for the most part, in our state,
it means that the checks we wrote, the kids are now actually doing it.
Well, and I got a little pep in my step. Preseason has started for most of the clubs and most of all the colleges. Everybody's reported. I think the local high schools start probably a week from, yesterday, a week from the 4th. And they're going to get going into their seasons quickly enough here. I just, from my kids' body language, from how he's operating for sleep and how he's eating and hydrating, we're getting back into the schedule. School will shortly follow. And I love this time of year because games, being a part of what we love, is right around the corner.
Well, there's a lot of things going on right now. Kids are getting back into their preseason, right, for both high school and club. But you know what that really means? They're going back to school. They get out of the house for 8 hours a day. They're not standing in front of the fridge, for 3 hours of the 8.
Or yelling at a TV screen with headphones on because they're playing their buddies across town on whatever game.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know what? Love you, kids, but time to go back. Do your thing. My point of the day, it's kind of a snippet. I want to talk about, there was a press conference today at the time of this recording, and, a friend of ours, obviously a friend of St. Louis City, the interim head coach, David Critchley, was basically asked a pretty pointed question, given the mathematics of the season, and I'm paraphrasing the question, given the mathematics of the season and the team's results, are you now officially focusing on 2026? And I'm like, man, title is interim, right? Undoubtedly, the team is looking nationally for what should be the next replacement.
Probably internationally by the history.
And I'm thinking, and I don't know who asked the question. And if you're listening and you know who asked that question, and if it happened to be you, don't take offense to this, but that really was not a good question to ask the dude. I don't think that's fair because he knows his role as housekeeper, right, at this point. Otherwise, there would be more fanfare. There would have been more communication. I think anybody watching the game or knows the game or knows the team, that's realistically not your first team coach next year. If he answers honestly, which is you are absolutely preparing for 2026 at this point, then it's so you're throwing away the rest of the season or these games don't matter. That's a no-win question.
Yeah,
and I felt bad for him. The team has struggled. Front office struggling. The moves in the coaching ranks is creating stress. You know what? I just wish that the people asking the question, let's keep this thing to a 24, 48 hours, maybe even a 7-day window. Because to ask an interim coach if he's planning for 26, don't do that.
Well, it's weird because it kind of brings me to my point 3, which I'll comment on your point first. Is speaking specifically of David Critchley, we had the chance to play Aston Villa came in and played our team at the stadium, and most of the listeners here probably caught it. But I wanted to give it a kind of a 2-part deal. Is I wanted to give a shout out to one in our own network is Miss Jen Cease. Basically emceed the pregame and also the halftime show. And first off, she did a phenomenal job. She only talked about her kids and her soccer career maybe once or twice. So good job, Jen. But no, she was very professional. She spoke well. She moved things along to Mr. Soccer and then the other gentleman on the panel. But it was interesting. You brought up David Critchley and that weird question. She interviewed Caroline, either in the pregame or at halftime, one or the other. And Caroline spoke extremely, extremely highly of David Critchley. So what I will say is I agree that the search is probably elsewhere, but I think David Critchley's done enough where he has a place in our organization somewhere because I think he's very highly regarded by ownership.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, and again, it's an impossible situation to be in, especially given the performance of the team, right? And the expectations of the fans. You got 22,400 that is starting to dwindle as far as their loyalty in attending these games. You got to do some things that are going to reestablish trust in we want to win, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know what? Crazier things have happened. It's I don't know. You said you had another point. What you got?
Well, my point was going to kudos to Jen.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, she's within our network here, and I think she did a pretty stand-up job. I know she was probably nervous, and she hasn't done a whole hell of a lot of that stuff, and she handled it like a pro. So good job, Jen.
Well done, Miss Cease. Soccer Mom Sunday. She'll be back soon. I'm going to roll us out here. You were saying earlier that you hadn't been to the factory. I got a show for you. I just did a little quick research. Stats boy, me, did a little research here. Monday, August 25th. How about this guy? You want to go see this guy?
You have to give me the name.
David Lee Roth.
Oh.
Little K-Sheet classic. You think he'll do some Van Halen covers?
Yeah, he probably will.
That's life, people. David Lee Roth going to take us into a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking all things soccer with our man from across the pond. Thanks for listening. Like, review, follow, share, do all that fun stuff. And we'll be right back after this break with our guest. See you on the flip side. All right. We're back. Soccer Dad Pod. Got our guests on the line here. You like this one, Jared?
I do.
It's a fun one. It's a fun one.
I like the violin.
It's the Water Boys. You know where they're from?
No.
I'll give you one clue.
Ireland.
Bingo. Pulling out a little far northeastern tunes for our guest today. This is a fun one. This is one of the me and Dana would play this all the time around the fire pit. Because once you get to the chorus, it's one of those songs where everybody sings, which is kind of typical of most Irish music, right?
Yeah.
You don't understand the verse, then it comes the chorus, and everyone's like, yeah, dirty old town, right? So, without further ado, and I would have said that in Gaelic if I knew the Gaelic word for adieu.
Adieu.
Liam, how's it going, man?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, appreciate you coming on. You got to help us out because on your Instagram page, there's your name with a whole bunch of letters and squiggly marks all around it, and then in a bracket is Liam Collins. You know, give me pronounce it properly.
Liam O'Quillan. So it's a tough one. It doesn't sound like it's spelled.
Yeah. So did you just make it easy when you came here and just change it to Collins?
It is Collins, I guess, officially, but in Ireland you have both. So,
I never knew that. I've known this guy from afar for a long time. I just knew his name was Liam Collins.
What's your driver's license say?
Collins.
Yeah, I can imagine somebody out in Defiance trying to pronounce that, pulling you over.
Could you step out of the car, Mr. Like a clown?
Yeah. No shit. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, man. We've been working on this for a little bit. Obviously, Jared's been a big fan for a while. We're gonna dip and dodge through a little bit of the background, a little bit of the current, and everything in between. But out of the gate, obviously, you didn't grow up in Cottleville or Defiance or wherever you're living now. you're from across the pond. Tell us a little bit about hometown and the early club days.
Yep. So I grew up in a small town called Skibbereen. It's on the southwest coast of Ireland. It's maybe 2,000 people, full capacity. So it's a real small town. Played local club soccer till I was about 16 there. And then I moved on to Cork City FC, which is a Premier Division club in Ireland. They're on the bottom end of the Premier Division table right now, but that's where I kind of started, 16, 17, 18.
Cork? Is that what you
Yes,
said?
Cork City, yeah. And they're an hour and 30 minutes from where I actually grew up. So started with their U17 team. So that's my first kind of taste of academy stuff. U17, 18, 19 reserves, and then I played a handful of games with the first team before moving over. So that was fun experience.
So was soccer, was that the family sport, or was it just your passion? You know, what was the connectivity early?
I think my dad played. He says he played at least a decent a decent level. He tore his cruciate, his ACL at 28, I think, and that was then pretty much done for. Yes. But he says he could play. But I have two brothers, and we've all played. I'm the eldest of three boys, and we've all played all the way through. We played the Irish sports growing up too, but one of my brothers concentrated more on playing one of the Irish sports, Gaelic football, and my youngest brother and I ended up kind of doing soccer most of the way through.
Well, I got to ask, just right out of the gate, since we're in the mold of the homeland, favorite player of all time? I mean, so there's three to choose from, right? I mean, bestie.
From Ireland?
Yeah, from Ireland. I mean, you're a midfielder, so
yeah,
it has to be
only
Roy
one,
Keane, right?
Yeah, Roy Keane is Ireland's best player ever, and he's from Cork as well, where I'm from, but
Really?
always a stain because of the 2002 World Cup with Roy Keane. I understand his argument and everything with it, but you're the captain going into the 2002 World Cup, and the facilities were crap, and I get all of that. The planning was crap. They turned up with no practice balls, all of those kind of things. I get that, but you're leading your country into the World Cup, and then he went home. So, and we got to the last 16. We lost in PKs to Spain without Roy Keane, and not that might have made us win the World Cup, but it might have tipped.
You would have been on the fucking ball a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, he's Ireland's best player, one of the best Premier League players ever.
I agree.
Captain, general, everything.
Who was your club then?
I'm an Arsenal fan, which.
Oh my God!
Which is terrible too, because you grew up watching United.
We're gonna cut this shit.
Yeah.
What was the connectivity then to Arsenal? Because obviously,
my dad is a Tottenham fan.
Oh, there you go. Now it makes sense.
Now it does make sense.
I respect that a little bit more now. Yeah.
My brother will probably, if he listens to it, not be happy if I don't mention that I was actually a Blackburn Rovers fan when I was like 5 or 6 or something.
There you go.
But they got relegated when I was 5 or 6, and no one could watch the championship 30 years ago or whatever. So Arsenal were good then, and I became an Arsenal fan at like 7 or something, and I've been an Arsenal fan since.
So since the new hip thing to do is to Americans buy football clubs, it sounds like. Have you seen the documentary with Tom Brady and Birmingham City yet?
I haven't watched it yet. Is the whole thing out, or is it just
there's 6
episodes?
episodes out, or 5 or 6, and it's just that's it, I believe. And I think I'm a Birmingham City fan. from the episode.
How is that possible? Because you were a lifelong loyal St. Louis Rams fan.
I know.
And the arch enemy, like Satan reincarnated, was literally Tom Brady.
He was, and I really like him, but I respect him, and you're gonna like him even more. And it's where the Peaky Blinders are from. So, like, I mean, I
respect that answer more.
I'm pulling for Birmingham in the championship this year.
Just as a fan, and as an Irishman, right? And you're so close to the game. I want to stay in this realm of TV soccer. Mm-hmm. When you see the Todd Bowleys of the world, and now you've got, obviously the Wrexham story is absolutely insane. Now Tom Brady's getting in on the act, and J.J. Watt, and it's. I mean, American dollars are flooding into the foreign soccer market. Good or bad?
Good. I think the more people that play the game, watch the game, spend money on the game, the better. Obviously,
the more visibility.
Yeah, there's good and bad ways of spending. I'm not sure Chelsea's approach is maybe the right way of just...
Be careful.
I just saw they bought their 49th player in 5 years or something crazy. So, but I think, the better visibility for the game, like what I can do to smaller, like Wrexham, the whole town, the area, things like that, they just changed for the better, I think.
That's phenomenal.
Do you worry, though, of... whitewashing isn't the term, but American washing or whatever, because it just becomes, how much is it about the Netflix special or the Hulu special? And because at the end of the day, you still got to go find the players, you got to get the coaches, you got to get the culture. You don't have to go get the culture's there. So what about turning that culture upside down? Isn't there a little bit of fear within these communities that that's possible as well?
I'm sure there is. And watching the Wrexham one, you see parts of it, especially from competing clubs, their kind of animosity almost towards them. But if their club had the same situation, I'm sure they all would take it.
I mean, Wrexham is basically now the Dallas Cowboys of the championship.
Well, I don't know, because I think Tom Brady's going to give them a run for their money. And there's a really cool, funny part in that deal. And when you watch it, you're going to love it. Right. So the English, the chanting that they do during the games, and they're playing somebody. I don't know if it was Wrexham or if it was in the Virtue final or whatever it was. And they were no, it was when they were playing Wrexham and Birmingham beat Wrexham. And Birmingham fans were, you can shove your Deadpool up your arse. And they were just chanting it the whole time. I mean, it was just, I just got the biggest kick out of it.
So put it on your watch list, people. Let's get back to the Cork experience. Yeah. So you're rising through the ranks. You get the opportunity. When you start to sniff the potential, not the actual first team experience, but the potential when you're playing for that second team and you're in your high level within the academy. What was it? Was there ever a point where you're like, not only is this my dream, but I'm really close? How did you manage that? Because if you're going through that at 16, 17, 18 years old, you're still a puppy, right? Mm-hmm. What was that experience like for you as you were so close and then moving into the opportunity?
I think moving from the region I was from, small region in West Cork, I was probably the big fish. And then moving to Cork City, they had so many other good players as well. Mm-hmm. And I probably was never really aware maybe of how close I was. You're training and practicing and playing with all these guys that are good, guys that some guys went on and played in the Premier League. So it's hard to get ahead of yourself maybe. But then when the opportunities kind of happen, you're playing with the team above, you're playing with the reserve team, then you get that feel like, maybe I could play a game or two this season or next season. Exciting, but you kept growing because there's a lot of good players, even from the League of Ireland, that might never play the actual first team because they're gone to England before they even make the first team. Wow. At 16, 17, and 18, most of the best players in Ireland are already kind of picked up. Yeah,
into those other academies. And like, because we talk a lot about colleges and what our new game is doing, we'll fast forward the timeline a little bit, because for our listeners, you come and you spend 4 years at Memphis and play NCAA collegiate soccer in the mid-2000s decade, let's call it. What age did you come over here, and how much experience did you have playing for Cork City before you came here?
I came at 19, and I had 6-7 first team games. So before that, academy.
So Memphis University in 2009-ish, 10 mm-hmm. Did they come to Ireland to recruit you?
No, I played on an Irish kind of almost schools team.
Okay.
Think of like if there was maybe a U.S. schools team, best high school players in the U.S. got put on like the U.S.
traveling team.
Yeah, and the coach of that just knew the Memphis coach.
He did. So at 19, you're coming to Memphis to play collegiate soccer, and you have 7 first team games, caps under your belt coming to play men's Division I soccer at 19. That's a little bit different than the 17, 18-year-old coming out of CBC High, per se.
Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you a question about that. Was the States even a goal or a dream or a thought as you were going through that process?
No, not really. And then the whispers of a scholarship came around, and my dad was actually, and my parents were more, you're going to try it. Because at the time period, I was getting paid expenses at Cork City, which was 120 euros a week. It was my gas money for going that 100 miles, about 90 miles, or an hour and 30 minutes. So, yeah, whatever that distance was that's what I was getting paid. But at 18, 19, I was I'm getting paid to play soccer. But
you were getting paid to drive.
Yeah, exactly.
And you were playing soccer for free.
But you had free boots and free food, and you had a lot of perks.
But my dad was like, this could be education. My parents were, try it. And if you hate it, come home at Christmas time. Do semester 1, see what it's like. And I had no real understanding. I Googled the population size of Memphis just because I came from a small, tiny town in Ireland. I didn't want to end up in a small, tiny town in America. So I Googled the population size, and I saw there was a big size city, and I was kind of happy with that. That was about the selling point of it.
Well, and you get here, and so you play your freshman year, and you have a whole hell of a lot of success. So as our listeners know, it's a fall sport. You get here, you enroll, it's brand new, and you start clipping pretty good your freshman year. So, was that early success on the soccer field, football pitch? Was that the reason that you wanted to see it through and stay?
I think so. And just the whole collegiate environment here, and actually how well taken care of you are while you're flying to games, all the equipment, everything kind of done for you. That was such a eye-opening experience. And then having, as a team, we didn't have a great freshman year, but I did okay, and then it definitely kind of... Well,
let me cut in real quick before JB takes over. So I'm curious, as a 19-year-old coming into our game after playing 7 caps in the Irish First Division, compare the levels when you got here to what the level you were playing at in Ireland. Were you going there oh, these American guys can't play, or did they surprise you, or was where was the level?
I'm sure then that I thought I would walk in and this would be easy, but it wasn't that. At the Division I collegiate level, it's much, much better than people probably give it credit for at home. And Memphis, we were middle of the road D1. We weren't, good or bad, but we were, and there you play some really good teams that are, 7, 8 guys that'll go to the MLS the next year or whatever. That it doesn't get the credit it's given, and it's not professional, but it's so professional at the same time. You're in the weight room in the morning, you're out in the practice field, you're a professional athlete, even though you're not really a professional athlete. It took me as a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's a math equation as well, because you go from, let's say your season would have been 9 months or whatever, and you're making 100 pounds a week or whatever the math is. You're talking 4,000 pounds, right, or whatever that dollar is. But the tuition, room, and board is worth 35, 40, whatever that number was. So in your head, that's your wage, right? I'm curious, though, the first conversation with the coach or whoever was doing the recruiting, how's that first conversation go? Because you going into the moment, you admitted that's not what you were thinking about. And then the opportunity presents itself, and you decide, you're curious. Walk us through the first conversation, because what are you even asking? Do you have pitches? Do you have balls? Are there locker rooms? Because you kind of didn't know what to expect.
I'm sure playing style was asked. I'm not a big guy. I didn't want a playing style that wouldn't suit me for the 4 years that I had been there. I'm sure I asked about facilities and things like that, because once I had kind of opened the door to looking at America, I'd got a decent kind of few, I guess, not offers more, but people reaching out and stuff. So that I kind of started to learn, and I had a really good, not advisor, but a friend of mine that coached that had been to America and kind of understood the college experience way more than I did and what to kind of ask for and look for.
So let me ask a follow-up question, because you're playing at kind of your dream hometown team. You're in the premiership there. You get a handful of games in. This experience comes up. Now these offers are coming for you to go to the States and play, Memphis in particular. How do you track, or how do you manage your maybe your personal goal to be a professional player? Did you see the move across to the States as an opportunity to continue to do that, or did you feel like it was a lateral move? Was it a backward? Were you taking a step backwards because you were living your dream at the pro level, hoping to elevate, and then this happens? So where's your dream at when this transacts?
The Irish League runs similar to the MLS. It's summer league more than August. So by January, February time, I was talking to schools. By March, April, I had committed, which was right at the beginning of the Irish League. So those few months were kind of tense, because if I had signed a full professional contract, I couldn't have accepted a soccer scholarship. So the club was pushing me to sign a contract, but the one advisor was telling me that you're going to turn down this massive opportunity for... I was getting expenses prior to the professional contract, so maybe another 100 a week. I don't know what they would have offered then, but he was telling me you're going to turn down $35,000 scholarship, whatever.
Per year.
Yeah, for that small amount of money. And he kind of explained it more, that if you're good enough at 18, 19, that 3-4 years of trying to become a better athlete, experience a different kind of game, you could always come back to Ireland at 21, 22, stronger, fitter, being exposed to a different game and be good enough then to... Yeah. So it was him and my parents pushing it really kind of...
Let me ask one last question along this, and this is intended to be inquisitive, definitely not a gotcha. But you know the landscape, and you know how a lot of domestic players, families, coaches view the role of foreign players when it comes to NCAA. Did that enter into your mind? Do you, and maybe between when you first came over, were you worried about that? And now, years later, looking back at it, how do you view it? Still as positive for U.S. soccer to have players come over to maybe elevate the play? Do you see it as potentially as a detriment for local players? I know that's a tricky question, but I love getting the perspective from somebody that went through it.
Yeah.
I went through it when I first came, no idea what it meant. I just knew I was coming to play, and I didn't know what it meant for local kids, for American kids. As I've been here 15 years now, I kind of understand the process. I do think there should be some sort of limit on it. I don't know what that number is, but when I came in 2010, I think there was maybe 5 or 6 internationals
on the team.
Yeah. Which is nothing in comparison to
today.
What teams have now. I don't know how teams do it in terms of scholarship money and things like that, how they make it work, but I don't know what the right answer is.
Well, and I think to kind of, because even as an American going into that college thing is not the same, and I'm not going to act like it's even close to the same, but I think what maybe you come in naive into it and not thinking about that, but then joining that team of 25, 27, 28, whatever it was, as soon as you were with those guys and you were on a team, it was like riding a bike back home because you're on a team, and then everything else didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. And the only part where we ever competed differently is when we'd play like 5-a-side, on where there was literally a team of internationals, because there was only like 6 or 7 of us. Then we had a West team and a Memphis team and a East Coast, or whatever the other teams were.
How bad did the St. Louis team beat the Irish team?
The internationals won a lot.
So let me let's talk a little bit about maybe as you're approaching the end of your college career, you have a really, really good college career. Was pro still kind of front and center in goal. How are you managing that expectation? Entering into the end of your 4 years, you still got your legs. You're still looking at opportunities. What was that experience like?
Yeah, I had a decent college career individually. We should have done better as a team. But towards the end of the career, there was some kind of smaller teams poking around, but nothing major. And a big thing at that time period is I was of an international slot on a lot of the teams. And as a college guy, getting an international slot was going to be difficult. So I knew that was kind of an uphill climb. And right as I was finishing my bachelor's degree playing at Memphis, an Irish guy who was a senior my freshman year at Memphis got the assistant job at Cumberland. And he had reached out probably around maybe Christmas time of my senior year saying, hey, we're going to have a graduate assistant position open. You can come coach. You can get your master's paid for. And then that just seemed to take over. I don't know if it was kind of an organic thing, but that became what I wanted to do kind of. And I knew I could play PDL and NPSL and all that stuff on top of that too. And I'm probably could have played in the USL if I had wanted to go on trial around, but I just didn't want to become...
You're being humble.
I didn't want to become a journeyman kind of guy in that. I knew that wouldn't have been me a year here, a year there.
Well, and I know you played, and it sounds like we're going to a break, but I think just for our listeners, and a lot of people don't know this, but while you're at Cumberland, you play on that Nashville team, which was in the MPSL. Mm-hmm. And our pal here, he was named one of the top 10 MPSL players ever.
Ever? Well, then he should be buying the beers. That's like a hole in one.
And we'll get into
thing,
this
right?
in adult soccer and the TST. But what I will say is, and there's a lot of guys that are going to listen to this that are in the soccer community. If you've seen this guy play, this guy can flat out play.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. We're definitely going to be talking about TST because that highlight is out there. You can go check it out. He can still score goals. Can't grow hair, but he can definitely score goals.
I can't do that either, so I can't score goals either.
All right, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to refill some bevies here. We are listening to, going to roll out with a little Fisherman's Blues. When we come back, more soccer, Liam Collins, Jared Bertrand, JB Anderson. We're all sitting on the mics. See you on the other side. Hey, coaches, do you need new drills, some more structure, a little help preparing for the evening? Because, work, life, and stuff. Here's a little help from Soccer Coach Weekly with ready-to-go drills and practice plans that have been trusted since 2006. And here's the deal. Soccer Dad Pod listeners, you will get 50% off a full year of premium access. So go to the Soccer Coach Weekly link in the show notes and use code SDP50. That's SDP50 for 50% off. Plan fast, coach smart. Get your time back, and let's go. All right, we're back. Soccer Dad Pod. Got our boy Liam sitting at the table with us here. I was just talking offline here. Doing a little bit of research because I'm like, he's from Cork, right? Cork area. Best musicians from Cork, Ireland. And Luca Bloom. You know Luca Bloom?
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear this and does it take you home, or you're like, God, this American is a nerd? And you can be honest either way.
No, I like Irish music. It's big. It's big.
So there was.
Let's be frank. I mean, their best export is not music; it's Guinness.
It's that, but it's Irish musicians in a pub that serves Guinness. You gotta add it all up.
I'll take that.
Yeah, because I was a bartender for a long time, a couple of years up in Chicago at Kitty O'Shea's. So I was
long time Irish bar, isn't it? I've never actually been there, but I've heard of it.
I was the only American bartender.
Really?
Yeah. was all J1 visas. It was all
Well,
Irish.
you're pale. Like, you kind of look Irish.
But they said, you kind of look dirty. Anyway, this is one of the songs that the guys, Jimmy Moore and Pat Broder are their names. People are listening like, what? Look, just go down to Soulard. Go to McGurk's. You will hear this song played on a given Friday or Saturday night jam. We should.
And they might be staying upstairs after the set.
Oh, I guarantee it. There's apartments upstairs for the musicians. They stay for like weeks at a time.
And then they go to Kitty O'Shea's after they leave.
Well, Kitty's is in Chicago. That's a long... Yeah, true. Yes. There's a route from St. Louis to Chicago. Anyway, we've got Mr. Liam... Pronounce your last name.
O'Quillan Collins.
There you go.
Can you step out of the car, Mr. O'Quillan?
Man, I can't wait to see how that goes. We just wrapped up in the first segment. We were talking about your own path experiences, and we were, getting into a little bit of the college days. Let's shift over into some of the fun stuff and the day job stuff. That being dueling for Lincoln. I want to start there. Can you take a second and talk about maybe your introduction to the crew? How you met the guys, and fast forward to 2 years ago, whenever you guys had the opportunity for the first time to play at TST, and that particular team dueling for Lincoln, and what that meant for you.
Yeah, I guess I've been here in the St. Louis region now. This is going on 8 years, I think. And when I first came here, I didn't know anybody. So soccer was my kind of introduction to people. And as I started playing, then I started getting asked to play on more teams and different teams. And most of those guys are perpetual indoor players at all the different tournaments, at the Mitre Cup. And it just started slowly kind of seeping in that I got kind of pulled into those teams and playing on those different teams with those guys. And then, I guess 3 years ago, the TST tournament started, and then it came around that the Dueling for Lincoln team was going to have a team in it. And all the guys that back that charity are great guys. Mercer, Vogler, the Komorowskis, Biff, they're all fantastic guys. Yeah. And they asked me to come on board, and I was a real late commit the first year because... we had a kid on April 24th, and the tournament was the first week of June, so it was 5 weeks or so after our kid. So
you had to talk the wife into it.
My wife knew I wanted to go, but I hadn't kind of broached the subject, and she said, "You kind of want to go?" I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to go, but I'm not going to ask to go. You can let me know if it's okay." And then I eventually got around to committing, and I committed real late the first year to it.
Well, you know what I think it's interesting? We've had the dueling guys on the show a lot, and what jumps off the table to me is they've been extremely competitive and more than competitive, and I would agree, all good guys. But what's important to them is culture. And letting guys that are going to play the game into their circle that they can travel with, and they're not assholes. And it takes me back to like the Falcons days when we're playing on Sunday mornings and playing against you, and you've always been a class act. And I just think about the dueling guys explaining, hey, just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're going to TST. You have to fit in with our group, and it just like kind of the parallel between those days playing with you and against you, and then you go into TST. It's just a perfect fit because you're just a flat out good dude and a better player.
Yeah, and that was a big appeal to it. Initially, I liked all the guys that were kind of setting it up and running it, and obviously the charity is an amazing cause, and that obviously is a massive, the biggest part of it. But knowing that you're going to practice, a couple times a week, and you're going to spend the week in North Carolina with dudes, liking them is a huge part to it, kind of. So that was a big kind of selling point. And once we had kind of figured out that I could go that first year after just having a kid, that I was kind of all on board with it then, and they do such a good job. They're super organized. They're on top of it all. And I think a big reason we kind of surprised people the first year, because probably a lot of people in this region saw it was a bunch of indoor guys that play men's league that are just kind of going there and are going to get whooped basically in the tournament. And I think we surprised a lot of people that first year.
Has anybody from not an indoor background not won the tournament?
No.
So like, and like for the people that are surprised that they were good, I mean, you're blind.
But I think I think this is more of a backyard thing for us because I'm listening to you talk about the guys, and I know a lot of the guys too, and I think that there's something a little bit different and special about this particular group of indoor guys that went to this event because you had some pro players, a short list of them that are MASL, right? Or maybe they had a stint years ago. But what you really had, you had plumbers, you had realtors, you had,
history teachers.
So you talk about men's league guys. That's a polite way of saying beer league dudes, right? And I think that's the thing, and which leads me to kind of the point, and want to get your take on this. St. Louis in particular, as a soccer community, you come from Ireland, you go down to Memphis. That's your college, that's your living experience. Yes, you traveled around with the team and you saw, some other really, really quality teams and maybe some communities. But when you came here and you started to get embedded into the indoor scene with these guys,
Sunday morning Falcons.
Yeah, playing a Falcons game against guys that is a mix of ex-pros and college, Hall of Famers. Our guy, Jared. There you go, Jared.
Oh,
give you a shout.
Here we go.
There you go. Can you talk a little bit about maybe your interpretation or your impression of St. Louis from the soccer side, not just the girl and the backyard and all that other stuff?
No, I loved it. Wherever my wife is from, we dated during college. We've been dating forever. If she was from somewhere else, we'd ended up somewhere else. But she was from here, and it's been one of the biggest blessings because it's such a strong soccer community that I was worried moving. I moved from playing on a team in Memphis to coaching at a team in Nashville. So I was always around the soccer team, and then moving up here kind of not really knowing how I would do. I knew my wife and her family. That's it, basically. But as soon I started playing with our brothers first, and they both played college soccer, and I played indoor with them, and then it just I didn't know how well soccer how well it was established in St. Louis. Like everywhere, every night of the week, if you want to play a game, and you can play a good game every night of the week, kind of, and that made my transition here much, much easier. And being here this long and having a wife that's played through high school and experienced kind of winning in high school and what high school meant, that transition into a soccer community made it so much easier.
Let's go back TST real quick, and then we'll shift over maybe into the high school world. This year, TST, you arguably have one of the most popular goals of the tournament. Walk us through, because that was first round, first game, wasn't it?
Yep.
Who were you playing, and what were you thinking when you decided to hit that thing from 70 yards out or whatever it was?
We were playing Newtown in the first game. I think they won it first year. But the ball, I think it was Billy, kind of won it and deflected it to me, and I think I was the highest player. So it was either It was either one of these where I just pass it backwards. I'm not going to dribble it forward. I don't really do that anymore. So it was I just knew the keeper would have been on, because they had possession for a decent spell. So in that small side of game, keeper's always a little bit higher. So it was one of those, just hit it, and he thankfully was out of his goal. If other times he could have been just standing there and grabbed it, but it just kind of hit it and hoped.
Well, you hit it and you miss it.
Yeah, so you hit it. Now, obviously, this is your second time there. There's constant bright lights on all these fields. There's people around, a good crowd, etc. The camera's on the field. You hit it. It's going. What's going through your head at the time?
Not too much, to be honest. I remember hitting
I need
it.
a sub.
Straight off.
I just pressed for 90 seconds.
He did go straight off. I remember watching him. He's going to get a beer.
I hit it and I said, oh, that's got a chance. And then it's in, and then it was, okay, now it's time to get off.
Well, and I think, from the indoor mentality, and I think just watching that goal and that build-up, is that team had the ball for quite some time, and then there's a challenge. I think you said Billy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a deflection, and it kind of just pops to you. And we use the word often on this show, soccer IQ. And it's just cool because you can kind of see it, like, especially in the social media post or like in the airing, because I was watching it as well, and then you texted me, he's like your boy, like
yeah.
And just like being able to, that's the years of playing in Ireland and playing in Memphis, just recognizing to take that touch and then just knowing, because it's a boom situation, and it was just a class goal, man. And congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so
I'd be remiss if I didn't say in the next game I missed a terrible chance. So I need to put that in there, like 2 yards out, terrible. Skied it. I think the ball is still flying. So
I'll do you a solid and edit that out later. Let's talk a little bit about the here and now. You've been coaching now for a while, throughout your career. Talk about the current school. Talk about your current team. How long have you been there? Put a little pin in the map for us.
Yep. So I teach and coach out at Holt in Wentzville. This will be my 5th year teaching and coaching there. It'll be my 9th year in high school soccer, so really kind of familiar with it. Boys season starts next week. Looking forward to it, like you guys kind of said offline. It's an exciting time of year. You get to start building your team. You basically have 2 or 3 weeks before the first game, so you're getting guys a little bit fitter. You're trying to put your own imprint on the team. But I've had a great experience. We're a middle of the road program. We're not gonna make too many headlines or anything like that. But we've got good kids that come out and work hard, and they listen to me for the most part, and they're coachable. So it makes it fun when it's like that. So
what's the fitness test? I'm just because I'm nosy. Is it 2 mile, 12 minutes? Is it just don't be a turd? I mean, what's the fitness?
Yeah, it varies.
You have to fit in the.
It varies. We do different timed runs and things like that, but not a.
Is anybody on the team fitter than you?
Yeah. They would
That's a PC answer right there.
No, they would be for sure. I can hang for a half hour or 40 minutes maybe, but after that.
So now how many years have you been a coach there?
This is going into my 5th year.
Okay, so 5th year. You know the landscape now. Whether or not you've played a lot of the teams or not, you know the landscape. We run the gamut from smaller schools like yours all the way up to the Chaminades and Vianney's and Slews, et cetera. And St. Dom's, of course. When you look at high school soccer, just here in St. Louis, are you impressed by it? Have you been impressed by it? Just grade it coming in, because you probably going into high school coaching, maybe you just thought, look, a little part-time job, a little extra money. It's a sport I love. Have you been impressed by the experience?
Yeah, and I can't answer for this maybe in other cities or anything like that, but just here in St. Louis, as you guys are well aware of, the first thing is like, where did you go to school? And then soccer becomes an extension kind of that. I think the level of probably high school soccer has obviously dropped with the club game taking a lot of the best players, but I think there's still a place for it. There's a pride aspect to it. Mm-hmm. There's you live with these guys in the same area, you play with these guys, these are your buddies.
You wear your jersey in the hallway on game day.
Yeah,
that type of stuff.
My wife went to Incarnate Word and won 2 state titles, so wow. I hear it from her all the time, and what high school meant and what it means here in St. Louis. And I try to tell that to my current players, like playing high school soccer in this area means something.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, or maybe two, for the kids or the parents of kids that play at maybe a much higher level, and they might just be academy players, or in particular the kids that are doing both, right, that are competing at the high school level. Can you take a second, because we always talk about the role or the potential role that high school plays that a lot of academies don't provide, and that is culture or maybe camaraderie or the desire, the necessity to win, because in the club world a lot of times player development is A1, right? Can you take a second and talk about how you view high school soccer and its role for that aspect or that part of the game compared to maybe an academy environment?
Right, and I think if you take, let's say you've got one of those players that's on the fringes of high-level club / high school, if they opt to do the high school role, they can take on such a bigger role. They can be the star and they can lead the team. And they might not necessarily do that in their academy team, but they can then, that one player could swing 5 or 6 games throughout the high school season. And I think it gets them to play in a different system, a different level, but a different role within that level. And I think those things are all useful. The next level, where the next level is college, where it's a job, that ability to, maybe fit in one role in one system here, but I can also do this role and be this leader and do that role here. And then there's the community aspect and the playing with your friends.
Friday night lights.
Yeah, it's...
And I think it's interesting, like maybe an example is a sophomore is a left wing back on a academy program, but then you put he or she into the high school game, and they take on more of a central player role where they're on the ball a lot more. I think there's some benefit to confidence, to being on the ball more, taking more of a leadership role. I think there's a lot of the things that you were talking about are very beneficial for that said player. Like, I feel like Brody Mayer, who has been a complete stalwart forever,
made him a great player.
And I think he spends a year at Vianney and he becomes a high school All-American. And I think I've seen him as an academy player for 6+ years. And then he spends that year at Vianney and he comes back and he's even a better academy player.
Yeah.
I mean,
different.
You know what I mean? And I think that's positive.
Do you, I mean, I know you're loyal to Holt, but do you have a passion for it to, either try to elevate Holt, or if an opportunity came to you, would you consider it? Not putting you on the spot, but we're putting you on the spot, because you're a competitor.
Yeah,
right?
I'm happy. I'm really happy where I'm at. People at Holt have been.
Are you thinking about 26?
No.
Just kidding.
With Holt High School, yes, but not elsewhere.
Well, I think another thing that we need to talk about, because just being in the area, growing up in that area, high school soccer. Let's talk about the GAC a little bit, because I think the GAC, we have the Metro Catholic Conference, and we have some of these big-time schools that are down here in the St. Louis City and County that have been perennial soccer powerhouses for many years. When I was playing, the GAC was more geographical, north-south, and just if you were in it, you played in it. And now I think that it's split more with the school sizes. But talk a little bit about the GAC, because there's many long-time soccer powers within the GAC that have developed many, many players. And I think the GAC just in general for men's or boys and girls soccer is just one of those long-time conferences that have been exciting, to say the least.
Yeah, and it's been great while I've been there, and I've actually had the weird, experience of being in all three, because when North Point opened, 5 years ago, Holt's numbers were bigger, and the last few years, and those numbers have dropped. So we've dropped through the GAC divisions, and we've been in the GAC North, which is the smaller schools, this last season, and we were in the GAC Central before that, and the GAC South my first year. And there's a ton of good schools. Hull are great. Hull Central are always strong. Liberty have been really strong the past few years on both sides. There's a lot of good teams that compete in there.
I think another thing to be said is in those GAC conference, there's a lot of coaches that have been in and around the fabric of our game, that have been longtime coaches, from the Brady Demlings. I mean, he was an excellent college player. Greg Keller's played on a youth national team. There's just a lot of guys and gals that coach within that conference that just get the game, whether it be from a high school level or just all-encompassing of the club level and whatnot. Yeah. So you have a lot of good colleagues within that conference.
Yeah, and anytime we get together at meetings or anything like that, there's a lot of camaraderie with those guys. They know the game. They've been around it so long, and I'm 35 at the weekend, and I'm on the younger side of it. There's a lot of experienced coaches in that conference, and I think any players that play in those divisions within that conference are being exposed to people who've been around the game.
Yeah.
And again, I think it goes back to this region. There are just so many soccer people here in St. Louis that
makes sense.
You were unlucky if your high school coach is someone who doesn't know much.
Yeah,
about
that
it.
is just a history teacher, but really doesn't know the game and just says, I'm going to take the extra.
Yeah.
And we don't have that. That's pretty cool.
Which I think you probably see in other sports or other areas, other cities that might have soccer in that role.
That's really
but
cool.
You don't see that in St. Louis.
So I want to bring up one quick thing because the email came out today, and I'm wondering if you got it. Actually, it was at 4:21 today. Excuse me. My buddy, Mr. Ehrenberg over at Ladue High, we helped kind of come up with the idea, and he did so much of the legwork. But we've been working on the STL Best 11 now. This is year 2, going into year 2. Can you take a second to talk about number one, your familiarity with it, but 2, with the kids, because we've been really good, and he's been great at making sure that the schools, large and small, from class 4 to 1, Illinois, Missouri, private, public, it's really democratic. There's an opportunity for kids from everywhere to be recognized and celebrated when you see things like the STL Best 11 for potential players like yours. How cool is that? Is it fun? Do you like it? Do the kids like it? Because I know how my kids, they all talk about it. Mm-hmm. When Wednesday 3, when that thing drops, they're all pinging. So can you take a second to talk about the Best 11?
Yeah, and I don't know David personally, but I just know him from the emails and from what it seems a ton of work that he's put into doing this. And it's something that, again, adds more visibility to the game. High school, having more eyes on it, people paying attention to it, is good for the game, and it for sure has done that. And the kids 100% track it. And even we haven't really had any kids on the team, and that is completely fine. But even just letting a kid know, hey, you had a great week, I nominated you for this. Like, it's cool. It's a cool thing. Like, it might be that next game, a pep in their step or whatever, but it adds something to it, and anything that can, again, kind of bring visibility to high school, I'm all for. It's been a great addition.
So you've been you've ran the gamut from your own personal youth years to academy to pro to Memphis and NCAA post. You're now a TST, Hall of Famer with the goal, and you've been coaching for 5 years at the current at Holt. What's next? Because you're still clearly fit. Where's the balance? Are you going to keep playing? You going to, obviously coaching. What are you doing next, man?
Teaching and coaching is the full-time gig that starts next week. But playing-wise, I'm going to do it as long as I can. As long as the knees and ankles and stuff allow me to do it, that'll be me. So this last summer, we got to play with the Boffs team, which has been fantastic. They're actually doing a U.S. Open Cup entry for that team. So,
what does that cost? Do you even know?
I don't know what it is. No, a couple of grand, I assume, but I don't know. So I'll play in that for sure, and I'll let
fit for that.
My brother gets married. My brother gets married next summer. So
are you going back to Ireland for that?
Yeah, so that'll be an extended kind of trip. But
I would love to go to that.
So
I just want to go to Ireland
to his brother's wedding.
I just want to be in a suitcase when he gets there. I'll just be like, hey, I'm here. I'm gonna go to the St. James Gate.
Well, Southwest Airlines doesn't fly there, so you're +1. It's gonna be.
Well, ahead, closing man. For me, I know we're getting long in the tooth here, but been doing this show for 3 years, and for me, you're one of those personalities in and around our game here locally, whether it be via Ireland or the high school game or all the men's circuit. You're just a one of those guys that brighten the room, and you're a lot of fun to play with, against, on the field. And I'm a big fan of what you got going on at Holt and anything that you guys are doing. And I know we haven't mentioned it, but you got 2 young kids. So I'd imagine that the sport is going to be integrated in their lives. So I'm anxious to kind of follow you and see what's going on there in the future. And thanks for coming.
Yeah, man. Is it a boy and a girl?
Boy and a girl, yeah. 3-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl.
Wow.
So who's going to be driving the girl to Incarnate?
Mom. No, I appreciate you guys having me on. I know I'm a blow-in the St. Louis area, but I understand what soccer means in this area, and I'm privilege to be a part of it. So thank you guys for having me on.
Dude, man, anytime. Thank you very much for, and again, one last time, pronounce the name first and last properly. Let's hear it.
Liam, pretty straightforward. O'Quillan.
There we go, man. We're gonna save that one. Thanks for joining us, man. It's
Kind of sounds Cajun.
It does have dude,
I'm Cajun.
We're on the wavelength today because I'm like, man, that sounds a little bit like Louisiana. Or something. Like, all right, Soccer Dad Pod. We're on our way out of here. I'm going to play a little Pogues to roll us out. Thanks again, Liam, for joining us. Welcome back anytime, man. Jared, you killed it today. We appreciate all the support. Like, review, follow, share. Toss us any of those, and we'll keep them coming. Until next time, we're out of here. If I should fall from grace from the Pogues. Later.